Hello everyone, this is Asclepius with Echoes from the Caverns. Echoes from the Caverns is distributed by Sir Style Tackle and is a joint podcast production produced and run by Lord Baldrith, Asclepius and Sir Style Tackle. Background music by Stephen J. Goldman. Now, Lord Baldrith is having another week off this week, so I'm delighted to have as a special guest Browncoat Jayson. How are you doing there, Jason?
Doing great, and glad to be on. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, well, here we are. The update of the Avatar number 90 this week has just come out, and we'll just work through it gradually. First up on the list, we have the Dark Star training montage, which was a lot of fun, preparing for the epic duel between Dark Star and Lord British. They obviously take their work very seriously down there.
Seems the training montage took a little bit more time than the actual duel.
I think so, yes. But they had a lot of fun. Did you see the actual duel itself?
Yeah, it was on the website quite a while back, but
yes.
It's kind of I think it was off of Flum's camera or something like that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I loved the way they both ended up in the water. That was fantastic. Okay, and the next item, new designers joining the team. That's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Good to have new blood in the game.
That's right. And we have two new designers. Artie Rogers first up, a professional game developer working in the industry since '96. Worked on a lot of games. Wizard 101, Elder Scrolls Online, Area 51, The Hobbit, Medal of Honor 3, and Ultima Online. And he's currently crafting a new war-torn scene called Soulless Bridge, scheduled for release 11, so that'll be something to look forward to.
Definitely, yeah, that Soulless Bridge area I think is going to be kind of interesting. The name is a nod to one of Tracy Hickman's old areas, so right. Kind of wonder how much hand he has in the design of this.
Yep. And lovely pictures there. Andy Cortez has been working on damaged castle wall pieces and damaged drawbridge. And they look pretty. I think we're going to have some awesome scenery in the game.
Yeah, it looks like they're very modular pieces too, so we could use those quite a number of different areas.
Absolutely. And Abe Robertson is on board.
Yeah, another world builder, 5 years of experience.
Yep.
Call of Duty, Halo 4, Black Mesa in his credits.
Yeah. So they've got some fairly talented people in the stable there.
Yeah, definitely. This new Virtus Pass that they have as a control point, that image is just gorgeous.
Isn't it? Yeah. I think it's going to be worth playing the game just to walk around and sort of gape at the scenery.
Definitely. Yeah. One of the things I love to do in MMOs is just explore and find different areas, out of the way areas. And I think there's going to be a lot of that here.
For sure. Yes. So, just as a segue, have you played many MMOs, Jason?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've been started with UO, went through EverQuest, EQ2. I did a little bit of World of Warcraft, played some Conan.
Right.
Star Wars Old Republic.
Wow.
Kind of been on and off MMOs for the last 20 years.
Great. Would you believe that I'm almost the other extreme? I grew up on single-player games, and I've done most of the Ultimas, of course. But until this came out, I'd never played an online game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not quite sure why. I think I was always scared that I might not have the time to put into it properly, and I'd be sort of crawling along in a snail's pace, and everybody else would be rushing ahead. And I'd be the little newbie who was always going to get killed.
I can definitely understand that. I think my MMO time went down quite a bit. After I got married, we had our first son.
Oh, yes.
Just couldn't devote the time to it anymore. And
Yeah.
I mean,
your priorities sort of changed, don't they?
Definitely.
Yes.
Even before that, though, I went from raiding in EverQuest to a very casual online experience. So going from that to something like Shroud, I think is going to help quite a bit.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't seem to have very much in the way of long-term demand.
Well, that's right. And people have reassured me, and I believe that it's true, that even if you connect for shorter periods, you'll still get a rewarding experience.
Definitely, and the devs have already said that they're not going for the raiding type aspect where you have to coordinate 100 people to solve any one thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a lot more focus on story-driven content and more small player interactions. I think that's going to help a lot.
Yeah. And that's one thing I'm looking forward to as well, is the story and the long-term quest line. Because that's one thing I loved about the old Ultimas, was the deep story and the lore behind it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been involved not only with the dragons, but with the codex before we moved over from Wikia to be hosted on the Ultima Codex.
Yeah.
So just adding things to the wiki and learning all that lore, and that's one of the things that I love about the games is the deep story that's behind it. So I'm excited to hear more about that for Shroud.
Oh, yeah. And that'll probably come out more and more as the releases develop. I think, they're obviously trying to get the basic skeleton in place with the combat and stuff. But, yeah, and I think they try not to give away too much of the plot and the lore before the game's released. Exactly. Yeah.
We'll see a little bit more, I think, starting with R10. They're going to add some quests into Ardoris, it sounds like.
Yes, I heard something about that. Yeah.
Just give us a way to experience it a little more deeply, find out more about what's going on, and it sounds like you can reward us for helping participate in that. So
yes. And
definitely looking forward to it.
Oh, so am I. Yeah, that'll be great. Okay. And they've got a little graph there, shows how their team size has fluctuated. Interesting, they started off with 18 people in the team, which is pretty small, really.
And that's just since April of this year,
yeah.
Looks like.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, that's 2 years.
April, 2 years, yeah. And now they're running at 38.
Very interesting.
So they're doing enormous things with a small team.
And I think in this type of development, a small team is better. You don't need a lot of people stepping in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They can keep their ear to the ground, keep in touch with each other and with the community.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely great. Okay. And an example of what everybody is doing, that was just interesting to browse through.
Yeah, I don't know how many people have access to the Founders blog, but if you don't, that's one of the awesome things about being a Founder tier or higher. You can see what they're doing every day and kind of getting feedback from Gina.
Yeah, that's right.
Fire Lotus.
Yes. Yeah, and I've watched a few of the Hangouts, and they are pretty interesting. Gives you a sense of what they're thinking, what they're planning. And it's great that they involve the community to that extent.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was neat to see Richard's recent video, just watching how he thinks about food and energy and how it's going to work with combat. And
yeah, that was incredibly detailed. I don't know how long it took him to do all that.
It sounds like he's been working on it for a while. He started mentioning it in the stand-ups a couple months ago, something like that.
Yep.
So, taking until now for him to get that far, and even that, he said, is just kind of an outline.
Yeah. And I think this meshes in with their whole plan to make the world completely self-sustaining, to make it interdependent. Yeah, you will need, probably, to interact with fellow people, because you can't hope to do everything yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a player-driven economy, so you have to find other people who are interested in doing it and
That's right.
getting good with them.
Yep. And if you want the nice food and you don't want to bother cooking it yourself, well, somebody else will be interested. So you just go to their vendor and buy all the apple pies and beef jerky and whatever that they've prepared for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just with the number of things that Richard had in his spreadsheet, I think there's going to be a number of different places that just focus on different types of food. You'll get a bakery and a smokehouse and things like that within the same area, but they'll serve completely different clientele.
Okay.
It's an interesting way to go.
It is. And people will find out by experience, trial and error, what works best. And it's going to be a fascinating journey, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. The developer Q&As. Some interesting questions there. Talking about permissions for the lot. It's good that they have that. You can set up your lot to allow friends, kindred, whatever, to do things in your house.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how much further they're going to take that, whether they're going to do... I know they've mentioned having keys that you can code to who can get into different areas and things like that. But it will definitely be a nice touch to your house, being able to kind of let your friends in, let them do some decorating, take things if they need them.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. Okay. And we have another couple of new cloaks this week. We've got the Baron's cloak, that a pretty nifty pattern on the back of that.
Yeah, the dragon or wyvern or whatever that's going to be is.
Yes.
Saw that on the bed and the throne that the Barons had, but looks pretty nice on the cloak.
It certainly does. And it's lovely that the cloaks can function as a light source. I don't know how you found it, but down in those sewers and dungeons, it's pretty dark.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting what people choose to use, if the cloak is going to be preferred, or if they're going to have the helms or the shields or the swords, who's going to focus on which type, and if it really makes any difference in the long run.
And then we have the Knight's cloak, which looks pretty nice as well.
Definitely, yeah. It's one of the new symbols, the half white, half black, with the sword behind it. That's a beautiful sigil for the Knights.
It is. That's lovely. Really, they're putting a lot of work into all of the pledge levels. I think that's fantastic. Okay. And then we have a creature spotlight on elves. They just came out this week.
Yeah, that was posted earlier this afternoon. But it's a good kind of introduction to the elves, and it has a little mention at the end of the stretch goal, how they might handle that.
Yeah, I think it's a good attempt because, as you're aware, they said a little while ago, we could have elves as a playable race if the stretch goal were reached, and then people jumped up and down and said, but this is against the basic law of the game, that you are yourself when you come into Britannia. So it just involved a little bit of mental gymnastics of reconciling the two. And I think they've done a good job of starting to reconcile it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to make any difference. Those stretch goals haven't moved for quite a while, but...
No, they haven't. That's right. I think it'll be quite a while before any of the stretch goals are reached, really.
Yeah, and I know they talked about even if we don't reach the stretch goal for, like, say, boats, we might see those in one of the future episodes anyway.
Yes.
So,
well, that'd be good.
kind of wondering to see what will get pulled off that page and put into a episode 2, episode 3 kind of thing.
Sure. Yep. Yes. So now we see with elves, so very rarely, for reasons yet unknown, human outlanders may manifest as elves in New Britannia. So few such outlanders exist that any elf claiming such heritage is likely to be disbelieved. So
it does look like they're taking the Virtus elves
yes.
and kind of separating them. So there are the elves who still have the obsidian ways of doing things, and then these
yes.
Virtus who are have re-emerged with a new outlook on life, turned
Yep.
over a new leaf, and found a new purpose.
That's right.
So that's kind of an interesting
Yes.
quote.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's good. That'll be good to work with that. Okay. So that's pretty much the news release for the week. So Jayson, how did you get interested in Shroud of the Avatar? And what was it that drew you to it?
I was actually part of the Ultimate Dragons for several years, and then found out about Shroud of the Avatar the second day it was up on Kickstarter. So I went and pledged. Started off with the first responder tier.
Yeah.
And read up more and more on. Found out about Portalarium, and on their website they had the What Makes the Ultimate RPG. So I had to go back and read that, and they announced the new developer level, getting the Unity assets and things like that. So had to make some tough choices, but upgraded to that tier, and ever since that.
Yeah. There's always there's always the temptation to go further, isn't there?
It's hard. That's a lot of money for me to invest in a game, but
It is.
I've been very interested in game design for a long time. So I actually, Kenneth with Stand the Fury Dragon runs the Ultimate Codex, and we got to talking a couple years back, and we wanted to start a sub-forum on that website about a place for fan projects to have a repository for all their assets and things.
Yeah.
If they wanted to share those with the community. So we actually formed the Digital Lyceum, which is, I kind of run that now, but I do news for different fan projects. I do news for the different engines and plugins and things that come out. And then I try to upload as many assets as I can get people to agree to release for others to use. So I know Kevin, who is running Sanctimonia, creating Sanctimonia, he's created a bunch of art and sound assets and released those to the public domain. He's actually allowed us to host those on the Digital Lyceum. And then Dame Lori created the fonts for Shroud of the Avatar, and she allowed us to host a copy of those as well. So we do keep assets that people can use in their own fan projects, and that's something I've been interested in. I want to be able to create my own fan project sometime. It's kind of been an ongoing effort for me for several years.
Fantastic.
So I was hoping that the Shroud assets would be able to supplement that quite a bit, and they've got some lovely things that they put out so far.
Yeah, they certainly have. And I think it's just marvellous that people like yourself get so interested and so involved, and it helps the whole community.
Thank you.
Because people have a place they can go, they can look up things, find out information, and it's a whole process of enrichment. And so kudos to yourself. That's fantastic. And,
glad to do it. I'm very interested in other people getting involved as well. So if anybody out there has anything that they'd like to donate or make suggestions for me to review or anything like that, please get in touch with me at the Lyceum.
Great. Oh, that's wonderful. And I'm just sneaking a peek at your profile page. You have over 2,400 edits on the Shroud wiki. So I'm not quite sure how you get time for all of that.
Well, even right before this, we were doing some edits on the wiki, so I post all the news every week, so anything that comes out on the update.
Yeah.
As we get into releases, I go in and try to talk to NPCs and note who's there and what they sell and all kinds of stuff. So it's a new thing every day.
Fantastic. I mean, I must admit I've dabbled in the wiki slightly so far. I've found it incredibly useful because, as you very well know, when you're trying to craft something, the developers have sort of almost deliberately not told us how to make things.
Yes.
But some dedicated and hard-working people have gone and done all the experiments and found out some answers, and great people like yourself put it up on the wiki, and it makes it so much easier. It really does.
Yeah, there's definitely a process involved with figuring out how they come up with the back end, but there's a method to their madness. So if you kind of figure out what creates one thing, you can try to figure out what creates other things.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, there's still a few that we're looking for. They've said that there's so many recipes available, and we haven't quite found them all.
Wow.
So there's a few out there that we're still watching.
And that's a continuing challenge, isn't it? And it really makes it fun. Definitely.
Yeah. It's great fun. Go in there and try to find more things while we're trying not to break anything.
Yes. Are you actively involved in the recipe hunting?
From time to time, I haven't done a whole lot. I didn't actually get to play R8 at all, and very little bit of R9. So I'm hoping with R10, where it's mostly polish, I'll get time to get in there more, and I have a lot of things blocking that I can go in there and take a look at things and try some more recipes.
Sure. Oh, terrific. Okay. And I notice on the Digital Lyceum page, there's an article about Unity, and they do mention Unity 5 briefly.
Yes, they just got done with their Unite conference for this year.
Yes.
A couple weeks back, and they released version 4.6, I believe it was. That's in open beta now, and they talked about what's going to be coming up in Unity 5. So there's a lot of things that they're coming in that release, and they've talked about them in a couple of conferences now. So it's a big change from what is currently out there.
Yeah. And I know the Shroud developers have talked about Unity 5, about how much better things are going to be in some respects. So I imagine they'll be moving to it as soon as it arrives.
I'm sure they will. It's not a cut and dry, you can copy over and start running with it.
All right.
There's a lot of changes to how editing is done, how light is done, how it reflects off materials, because it's changing from a one type of material shader to a different type of shader.
Okay.
So it is going to be a lot of work to move between the versions, but I think it's going to ease the process a lot if they can find something to do that. And I'm sure there's some scripts out there they can run that will reapply a lot of the things that they are already using.
Sure. So the transition process itself might have some issues and be a degree of work.
Right.
Is what you're saying. But once they've done that, life should be easier.
Once it's out of beta, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Everything, just with the number of changes, it's going to be a large process, but yeah, I think it's definitely going to be worth it.
Sure.
Especially if they can wait until one of their polish releases and kind of get all that done, so they're not adding new things in addition to moving the transitions over.
Yeah.
So I think just moving to that physics-based shader is going to definitely change how their interactive light sources and things work. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, really, it's learning a whole new language, I'm sure. To being a game designer and understanding all of this stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is. You don't have to deal with a lot of this as a gamer, but once you get behind the scenes, there's a lot of things that goes into it that you really don't think about while you're playing it. Just
sure.
What makes it look more realistic, and what 3D sound and 3D image editing, and whether it works with your just your various 3D TVs, or whether you can throw on a 3D glasses and be able to walk around on it. It's
right.
There's a lot of things going on there.
I'll bet there is. Yeah. And I imagine that the more you throw in, the more opportunity there are for bugs and things to fall over.
Usually, a lot of the things that would affect like low-level combat and things like that is going to be there regardless of what the output format is. But especially in Unity, everything's built around targets. So you target the PC, you target the Mac, you target Linux, and you do one build, and it builds for all three systems. So it's kind of nice to have that one and done type of thing. But yeah, there just a few things are different between each of the PC platforms. So there's definitely opportunities for odd things to crop up.
Lovely. Yeah. And I just feel sorry for the developers sometimes, because obviously every time they make something, there seems to be another issue, and people on the forums are tearing their hair out, saying it crashed so many times, or this won't work, or that won't work. And they're continually chasing around trying to put out the fires.
And some of that is low-level things that they've been implementing that aren't compatible between the systems. And then there's some things that are just, they work different on the Mac than they do on the PC. And there just has to be some development time put into that. So I know Tesla was kind of tearing his hair out trying to figure out what was causing certain things. But
oh, great. Well, I have the utmost respect for all of them, because I understand none of it. I just enjoy playing the end result, and it's fantastic.
It's been fun so far.
Oh, it sure has.
Looking forward to more.
Yeah. And as you say, release 10 should be nice. Should be a polished release.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully things will run a little bit more smoothly. And might not be a lot more content, but I think it should be pretty good. As you say, they'll have this quest in place, which is also partly designed to get us moving around the continent and exploring places.
Exactly. Yeah, right now, if you go to Arteris, there's not a whole lot to do there.
That's right.
So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see where all we're moving to and who we have to find.
Yeah. And I hope a fair number of people join in the quest and explore the continent and get whatever rewards that they're offering.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have availability to get into pre-alpha releases, you got to check it out. Keep in mind that it's not a polished end product, but it is a lot of fun to get in there and see things as they're being built.
Yeah, look, I really enjoy it, and I'm aware that it's sometimes like walking around a construction site. And stuff is half finished, it looks a bit ugly sometimes, or it's broken, but you can, even at this stage, you can see that the game's taking place. It's taking shape. And it's fun. It really is fun to play.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming. I mean, just the, like they noted in this new update of the Avatar, the furthest pass might be in as early as release 10.
Yes.
Just so you can see it. But, yeah, once we get in there and Solace and release 8 and release 11, be able to get in there and see new areas is always exciting.
Oh, it is. Yep. And as you just said, more places to go and explore, and more terrain, probably more creatures, more NPCs. It's really
more combat skills.
Yeah. Yes.
Once they get all the skills in, I think it's going to be a lot of fun getting in and trying different builds.
It will.
See what works best for you.
And that raises a question. What's going to happen when the game first launches and we start out? Will we start out with a few points or no points? It'll be a bit sad if we start with no points.
Yeah, I know, was it last week or the week before, one of the updates had a kind of a island that was floating in the void with the moon gate on it. I'm kind of wondering if that's the first place we're going to start out, and kind of being you don't have any skill points yet, you're just learning how to do controls and move things around and things like that. And we might get a small number of points before we even get into the real game.
Oh, that could be possible, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like that was more of the introductory type of thing. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to do that fairly soon.
Yeah. And just generically speaking, a lot of games sort of take you by the hand for the first 10 minutes, half an hour. So this is how you walk, this is how you attack, this is how you do something else. So it's really easy to start with. And then you get into the game proper. So I don't know whether they'll do something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to take your hand quite that much. I know Richard, when he was talking originally, was that there wasn't going to be a lot of hand-holding. You would start the game, and he didn't even want to have a character creation type of thing. You would just jump in and be in a level playing.
Right.
And you would kind of learn as you're in that first area what you do. And then when you went to, before you left to go to the mainland, you would be in one of those New You salons and create your appearance at that point. So it wouldn't be a lot invested. But yeah, if that's still the plan, I think that's going to be an awesome way to go.
Oh, it will, yeah. Yeah, it'll be fascinating to find out.
There's a lot we don't know yet, so...
Absolutely. I found at the end of R9, I was just coping with PvE combat with the amount of points that they'd distributed. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it developed.
Definitely.
Yeah. And you've played all of the single-player Ultimates, I take it?
Yes, I bought... My first PC was a Tandy 1000 and came with Ultima 6.
Right.
So, played through that and then went back before 7 came out, and I got the original trilogy, so played that, and then got 7, and played as they were released ever since then.
Yep. Yeah, an awesome series.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I think either 4 or 5 was my first. Played on an Apple II GS.
Nice.
Yes. And then got 1, 2, and 3. And I don't know why, but we never got around to doing 6. But I've done everything else.
Yes, 6 was my favorite for a long time. When I was able to go back and start playing through, I kind of fell in love with the story for Ultima 5, just as the heroes as the underground fighters trying to overthrow Blackthorn.
Yes.
But yeah, probably 5, 6, and 7 are my favorite games of all time.
Yep. Yep. I mean, the level of detail and interactivity in 7 was just amazing, especially for the time.
Yeah,
and
completely open game. Especially with the expansion, you get your ship right away. You can head out to Forge of Virtue, or you can go anywhere else in the world you want.
That's right. Yes, that was great. Even Ultima 9 was fairly linear.
It was. There were ways to break that, but for the most part, it was, go to one place and beat one dungeon and come back. Right.
Yes, yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how linear or otherwise Shroud is. I hope it's not. I hope it's just as open as Ultima 7 was.
I would think that it would be. I suppose you never know, but it's got to be more open since it is being designed as a multiplayer game.
Well, that's right. Yes.
The MMO aspect, people are going to start. It sounds like they'll start in one of the major cities. So going from there, you have at least a few options open, as opposed to being kind of locked into one starting area.
For sure. Yeah.
So probably us in pre-alpha are a lot more limited than anybody else will be once the game actually launches.
Yeah, I think so. Yep. Okay. Alrighty. Well, I think that's fairly well covered, the news and everything. Are there any questions that you'd like to raise or chat about?
Well, I know that there's some things coming after what right now is release 10. Starting with R11, we're going to have a little bit more things coming up. I know, what did Star say? I think guilds, was it? Guilds that were going to be released in R11.
Oh, good.
So that's in October. So
yes.
Not only the ability to form guilds, but maybe actually see more like the guild halls and things showing up for that.
That'll be nice.
I don't know if the larger PvP information will be released at that point.
Right.
But yeah, that was the first thing that I noticed coming up soon.
Yep.
But yeah, otherwise I know the other thing that should be happening today. I haven't been on the forums to check, but I've been involved the last few weeks with the Scholars of Novia, trying to get player-run books into the game. So we were going to release that sometime today. I don't know if Windfield's actually posted that yet, but we're issuing a new call for books, very similar to what Portlarium was going to do for the Tales of the Veil.
Yes.
I'd like to get some player submissions. It's not something that we're actually giving to Portlarium directly. They can utilize whatever they need to, of course, but what we're really focused on is players submitting their work to us, working with us to get it the highest quality possible. You know, we'll make suggestions, but nothing's required on the author's end. But what we'd like to do is get enough works that we can put something together on the wiki, have enough individual authors that we could put together some kind of anthologies of works, and then submit those either if Portlarium wants to use them to seed with, or once the printing presses and things like that are in the game, we'll actually start printing books and selling them and putting them out through the world as we are able to. That'll
be great. Yeah.
So yeah, our major focus is really going to be post-release. We'd like to get player-run libraries in the game. We'd like to run a library ourselves as the scholars. Try to get as many works that are both official, things that the Portlarium staff has written, but also anything that individual players have written. We would like to have all of those in the library, be able to lock it down so it's open to the public, but anybody can come in and read any of the books. And
I think that'll really add enrichment and interest to the game. That's going to be fantastic.
Definitely. Yeah, the other thing we'd like to do is kind of host player-driven activities within that. So if anybody has a book they'd like to publish, or if an author would like to come in, if they have ability to sign their books, maybe we can put book signings out there or do a book reading, things like that. So there's definitely some activities we'd like to do in the library.
Awesome.
And then we've seen the magical version of the printing press that came out. It's going to give people the ability to print a published book once a week, I believe it is, and there's no charge for that. Normally with a printing press there will be an in-game gold cost, So what we'd like to do as the scholars is to get as many of the printing presses, magical or otherwise, so that we can take works that people have submitted through us, publish that, it shows the author, and then maybe a publishing page with our information as well, but put that out into the world so that a vendor could sell it, or we could give those away to players. So there's a number of avenues for those authors to have their books out into the world.
Great. That's really good. And I think it's going to be incredibly interesting for people to be walking around the world, either visit a library or come across books that are in a shop, whatever, flick them open and read somebody else's experiences.
Definitely. Yeah, and hopefully not just a one-off type of, this is information from my character, but I think there's a lot of authors out there that would like to write things that are, from anonymous sources or from NPC type of perspectives that Port Laren may just not have time to write. They're a fairly limited staff, so if you find a book and it says it's from somebody, that might be another NPC somewhere out in the world. We really don't know.
Okay.
Lots of things out there that might be available.
Well, there are a lot of talented and gifted people in the community who I'm sure have a lot to contribute. I mean, we have a lot of stories, just little stories coming in.
Definitely. For
broadcast on the Cavern site. And they're great.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of the things that you guys have published, and it is awesome the amount of talent that's apparent in this community. So very proud to be a part of it.
Oh, good on you. And it's so wonderful to see so many people involved, taking interest and developing the community spirit.
Definitely.
It's tremendous. Okay. Right, well, I think we might just wind it up there. Thank you so much for being on the show, Jayson.
Thank you for allowing me to.
It was a privilege and great fun to talk to you. And I wish you all the best and every success with the Wiki, with the Lyceum, with the scholars, and we hope to hear and see very much more of you.
Definitely. Be back anytime you guys have me.
Good on you. Thank you. Okay, so, community, you can help us to make this a great news program. If you see an interesting item of news, please let us know. We'd love to spread the word. So all you have to do is drop us a line at lordbaldrith@thecaverns.net, Asclepius@thecaverns.net, or style@thecaverns.net. Thanks to Sir Style Teckle for the website and technical work with the broadcast, and thanks as well to Amber Rain for airing the newscast on avatarsradio.com. The background music is Shroud of the Overture by Stephen J. Goldman. So until next week, when we hope to catch you again, this is Asclepius with Echoes from the Caverns.